Welcome to Guns, Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Today I want to talk about tracking your firearms collection with technology and the internet. There are a number of reasons you may want to do this, and that purpose will be key on how you tackle the issue. Is it to track values, either for insurance or estate planning? Is it for reference to see what you have and what you are missing? Is it to track range trips and how well you did or didn't shoot? How well your reload recipe worked? Maybe it's a mixture of several of those or something else. So, what is the best approach? There's always the old school writing it down on paper, and I did this for a while when I first started collecting. I had a book about firearms which had maybe 30 pages worth of entries at the back, and I was filling that out, but I ran out of space there a while ago. So I don't have a very good system right now. What I currently use to track my firearms collection isn't really focused on firearms. You see, I created a spreadsheet in Excel initially to track accessories because I could tell you what firearms I had, but I was having trouble remembering, oh, do I have that bayonet, or do I have that sling for that rifle, or do I just have one magazine for that pistol and I should pick up this other one? Because this was something I would reference not just for purchasing items online, but at gun shows or in-person auctions. I needed it to be accessible by my phone, so it's on Excel in the cloud. And I understand why that may be a concern for some people. If it's in the cloud, you're trusting a lot of companies with your data that have been known to cozy up to the government and hand it over, or just simple data breaches. I'm not too concerned about the government aspect because, frankly, if I'm not on someone's radar already, I would be surprised. But listen, I know this is a big concern for a lot of collectors and a potential deal breaker. Most of the software I looked at here had the option to be saved on a hard drive, or even recommended using a USB stick to store the data with this point in mind. One other thing, I don't really want to have an ongoing subscription for this. I know that does limit my options, and you may say that you're more likely to have issues with software without a subscription, but I want to be able to purchase something outright and not worry about a yearly fee, some of which are quite high. But I still reviewed several options with subscriptions to see what they were like. The first one I looked at was Catalogit, which was recommended by Forgotten Weapons previously. It is a subscription service and also rather expensive, so I never seriously considered it, but it is free up to 50 entries, so I decided to try it out at least and see how it looked. It would be a good fit for people who have a smaller or more limited collection. It's meant for collectors and collections in general, but has a fairly robust firearms category. There are a lot of options to fill out when you start an entry, though the options within those categories starts out without much depth. You can add whatever you want, and they will remain for later entries if you have shared characteristics. For photos, it has some options to crop and rotate, but I could never get the cropping to work. It would continue to show up with the default square dimensions of a picture, but the entire photo is also displayed in the entries as well. Part of this may be inexperience with the software since I just entered 3 firearms to try it out, but I think there's some issues with the accessories. You add the accessories on the firearm page and it's associated with that firearm, but even the details will continue to show up for later entries. For example, I put original magazine for this P38 and then made a further description about the marking on it. Well, now that extra description shows up as part of original magazine. If I enter another firearm, so I'd have to create another original magazine with no information to use on something else, or have many duplicates. You have to choose between being specific to that firearm and being vague when it comes to the accessories. For example, if you add a sling or bayonet, if you put bayonet, well, what type of bayonet? But you had the information, then you will have the list populated with a lot of bayonets. Small gripe, yes, but it is an annoyance. Also, for accessories, you can add a photo, but then I didn't see where you can see that photo in the actual entry for the firearm. Again, maybe that's there and I just didn't find it due to my inexperience, but I thought it was worth mentioning that at least it's not intuitive in that manner. There are a lot of options for what you can add for each entry, and there is a button to check for all matching, which is nice. There are different views and a summary of your entries that you can look at. There's also an app that you can get on your phone to accompany the software on your computer, which makes it handy as an on-the-go reference for your collection. The setup on the app is good and very similar to the main software. So overall, a lot of good points, a few criticisms, but also I don't think it's worth the annual cost. But if you have less than 50 firearms, it's certainly not a bad option and allows the largest number of free entries of any of the options I looked at. Next up is MyArms Cache, a subscription-based app, but you can export to other versions and share on the cloud. Like others, the selections are fairly generic to start, but more are added as you create entries. There are a lot of specifics on the firearm itself. You can add how many factory magazines, but otherwise pretty standard compared to the other options I've seen. You add accessories separately and then tie them to the firearm. It shows what number of accessories you have for that firearm on the gun's entry, and you have to click on it to show more details. You can have up to 5 photos per firearm, and there's no way to alter the photos you select or the dimensions. You're limited to a square, so you need to keep photos you're taking in mind if you want the entries to have a good view of your firearm. There's an option to show a summary, but it's fairly standard, no real graphics or anything. Definitely has some good features, but it also doesn't stand out as particularly special, not worth a subscription as far as I can tell. Recollector is not specifically firearms focused, but you can add additional fields for customization and track the data you want to track. It's about $50 to purchase, and there's a free trial up to 25 entries. You can upload images, but you can't edit them or change how they are viewed. There's a setup wizard to help put in a larger collection at once, but I had trouble getting that to work properly. It's pretty good, but rough around the edges. This is primarily for your computer, but there's also a free app, but there's an important caveat to that. The data in the app is only updated via iTunes or Dropbox. You have to manually send out the update or connect the update from the files on your computer to the app. That's very clunky. I liked this one quite a bit, but I don't know if that constant extra hassle is worth it. Then again, that's probably the drawback of purchasing versus subscription. Armory Book had a free trial for up to 5 firearms, but it is subscription-based for any more, and you are charged based on the size of your collection. I had a slight issue with this one in that you're supposed to be able to enter firearms in one of 2 ways, one with purchase information and one without. However, I could only get it to work where it forced me to enter purchase information, which was annoying. Even if I enter it in that way, I should be able to leave blank whatever I want. You have to be very detailed in that information, when I would prefer just informally putting in, yeah, I paid about this much for most of my entries. There was a fairly wide variety of makes and models already in the system, and you can make and assign tags for each entry. You add accessories separately and then tie those to the gun. Images are okay, but you can't manipulate them once you add them. It has some graphs and report capabilities. The rest is fairly standard compared to the others I have reviewed so far. MyArmory is a free app you can download. It contains graphics, custom fields, reports, a wish list, tags, and images. Like most of these, it's fairly sparse as far as calibers, makes, and models to start, but they will stay populated as you add them. Images aren't super easy to look at in the entries themselves. Another small gripe, clicking on a plus sign collapses that part of the menu instead of opening additional options. Also, you can associate bayonets and accessories with the firearms, but it's under upgrades. So a few odd choices in how this app is set up. I also had issues with the app itself. I only entered, I think, 3 firearms and a few accessories, but it took a long time because the button to navigate away from the current page would disappear, and I needed to force close and reopen the app to begin doing anything again. Definitely annoying, and it happens multiple times, even with me just adding a few entries. Recollector software is multi-platform on your computer and an app. There's a free trial, which is really a pared-down version of the main software for sale. It was odd because there were random entries when I downloaded it, which did work as a way to see what sort of items you could add for entries, but I also wonder if it was a mistake, but just because it didn't say anything about those. The accessories are entered in the same way and show up on the main page, and you can associate them with a firearm, but I don't see where you can locate that information about the firearm in the firearms entry, at least in the app. There were also a lot of makes and models already populated, though there was also a random serial number already in it as well, which was odd. It's also slightly annoying because you fill it in the same as makes and models. You click on it and there's a drop down of serial numbers. I doubt those are going to repeat in my collection. That should just be a manual entry field. Small thing, I know, but it adds up. I did have another issue, which is a major oversight. There's a date of manufacturer input, which is good, but it has to be the full date, month, and day. I can tell you the years for a lot of my firearms, but I have no idea what the day of manufacture was. There is also some formatting issues with the app. Some items are too long to display properly, and I don't see a way to expand and read the rest of it. So I have no idea what those data points are. So I've reviewed several apps and software possibilities, and where does that leave me? If money were not a concern, Catalogit would probably be my pick. Second would be Recollector, but would still be a huge hassle with having to push updates out every time you make a change. That being said, nothing really met all of my needs, so I think I'm going to pass on any of these for now. Those are all the free trial versions I've found, suggested, or came up searching to get a general feel. If there are others you are using or would recommend, please let me know, as I may do a follow-up if I get some good other options out there. If I see a really good one or get enough suggestions, I'll go through more and see how those fare. So for now, I might just make something new in Excel, try to make it more robust, but I'd still rather have an app of some kind instead. But sometimes you don't get what you want. So if you've made it to the end of the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. You can support me on Patreon via the link on the screen. Don't forget to comment on the video of your own firearm tracking and database experiences. Let me know what you do. Maybe you do have your own Excel spreadsheet you've made and it works well for you. I'm really kind of curious. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.